Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tome Knowledge. And I'm here with my friends, Moobs and VS. I don't know what this
Hello.
attitude is, but
Hello.
it's a laid back holiday mode attitude, apparently.
Oh yeah, holidays, vacations. That's easy mode.
Yeah. Yep. I'm yeah. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun and I are planning on playing a Baldur's Gate 3 marathon this week.
Oh, nice.
And we're gonna pause to eat food and play D&D Friday, which I'm pretty sure we're playing. I think everyone's other than Moobs said that they were good, so I might send out another message just to make sure because things can change. But as far as I know, we're playing.
I'm ready.
Except for you, Moobs, you can't play. Get out of here. You're
want
banished
to
from the
play.
country.
I think it would be weird if I started role playing on a plane.
You know, I mean, I guess it depends on how good your plane Wi-Fi is. In my experience, plane Wi-Fi is garbage. But
Yeah.
since you're going such a long way, maybe it's better. You just load up your tablet and pull out your dice on your tray table and say, "Let's go."
I just picture Moobs having the role play like being a sick man on a plane.
God, terrible. You're like you're role playing. Person beside you is like doing this whole thing.
Hey, if it gives me more leg room, I'll do it.
Oh man. Anyway, this a little late but better than never. This is the last Unearthed Arcana. First of all, have I asked this question? Do you see Arcana or Arcana?
Arcana.
I think that I switch, and then if I think about it, then I switch back. Like I'll just
The Arcana.
because I just said Arcana, but in my mind I was saying Unearthed Arcana when I was typing in the website.
Arcane.
Yeah. But anyway, this is the latest Unearthed Arcana. See, I did it differently that time. Fuck. I don't know. Just
tomato
with me.
Tomato.
Yeah, it's like the and
Arcana,
the.
Arcana.
It's like the when you say the versus the. Anyway, this one's about
Arcana makes me think like an old prospector man.
Well,
Got one of them Arcanas.
You're gonna go panning for some Arcanas.
I think a new NPC is born.
Yeah. God, it's like a prospector but looking for magic.
I'm looking for some arcane.
Oh, got some of that Arcana.
Yeah. But this one is entitled Bastions and Cantrips. And
our new show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was like, I wish they'd use another B word. I can't think of a B word for like a spell. Bastions and bewitchments.
Oh, pretty good.
There you go.
And then people are like, what are bewitchments?
They're cantrips.
It's good. Bun, Shelby, Zeus. Good to see everybody. Glad you guys can make it out. And thanks for hanging out with us on our extra live stream over on the Obsidian channel. We were able to raise over $25,000. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Claps. Yay! And I had whipped cream up my nose the whole night.
It's okay. Mikey later got the blue cheese whipped cream in his face.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Blue cheese whipped cream, huh?
Yeah, they have flavored whipped creams now. There's ranch, blue cheese.
I've seen like, caramel and
weird.
But I've never seen blue cheese.
Why would you
do that? Their advertisement was like, I got a carrot stick and I'm gonna whip cream with some ranch on it. And then like and then just put it around.
Yeah, just get some ranch.
So weird.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. But no, it was a great time. I was really happy. And I will say the first nugget that we had with hot sauce, I oversaturated it and it was hot.
Yeah, I was on an empty stomach when we were doing that.
Oh man.
I felt the burn inside for
Well,
the rest of the time.
you're impervious to hot sauce anyways, VS. You could just drink it.
Mm, I would still die.
Yeah.
But I
I
do love
did get
hot
some
sauce.
sleep. Yeah, it was good hot sauce though. I just wanted more, but it
It
was
has a good
spicy.
flavor, that Last Time Apollo, but it's hot as fuck if you put too much on it.
And
So,
I put it directly on my tongue because I like put it on top and then flip it, and then
oh,
I should have done. Yeah, it was good.
yeah. So, I think the first part we should talk about here are cantrips because it's in our name. Registered trademark. Ashes and cantrips. It is, by the way.
Oh, boom!
Oh,
So if you're you're hawking some counterfeit Casters of Cantrips merch, we're gonna find out.
we'll be looking on, what is it, Redbubble?
Yeah. Anyway, so they've revised a bunch of cantrips in the one D&D. I almost said universe, but that's fine. We'll stick with that. And the cantrips that they have listed that they have changed, and we'll go through each one of these and like what's different about them. But they've redone Acid Splash, Blade Ward, Chill Touch, Friends, Poison Spray, Produce Flame, Shalalalalalalali, Shocking Grasp, Spare the Dying, and True Strike. Which, thank God for that last one.
I like all the changes that they revised the cantrips.
I do, except for one. I think there's one I don't like. And I haven't mentioned it, so I want to see. Yeah, what are your guesses of which change I don't like?
Shocking Grasp?
I'm gonna say Blade Ward.
Oh, no, both wrong. What about the chat?
Damn.
What are your guesses? Which changes do I not like on one of those cantrips I just said?
Or Friends.
No. I'll just tell y'all. I don't like Spare the Dying.
What?
I don't like the changes in Spare the Dying.
Well, let's elaborate.
dive
Let's
in.
break it down.
Well, yeah, let's start with that one then. So for Spare the Dying, Necromancy cantrip, it is Cleric and Druid. So on those spell lists now. I also don't like that they did away with the 3 kind of types of spell lists. But that's okay. So it's an action, that's fine. Here's what I don't like. It's a ranged cantrip now. I do not like Spare the Dying being a ranged cantrip. It starts off with a range of 15 feet, and then it scales. So level 5 is 30 feet, level 11 is 60 feet, 17 is 120 feet. I don't like it being a ranged spell, to be honest.
Why is that?
Well,
I think it's cool.
Well, there's some other changes that we'll talk about later that I think it feels like newer D&D, like as it goes on, that there's more ways to avoid character death, especially at lower levels, which is fine. Like, characters shouldn't die all the time, but I feel like having this as a cantrip and just, level 1, you're 15 feet away, oh, you're not dying. Like, I like the fact that, hey, you could take this cantrip and someone would be immediately stabilized, but you have to go into the fray and do it. And that's the thing, because you can cast a cantrip infinite amount of times, right? Whereas you have like a healing spell, you can also do that to stave away death at a distance, but it's going to cost you resources. This will never cost you a resource. So
For me, it's like a flavor thing because
mhm.
I don't know. Like I've been watching this anime and they're just standing there praying, and then like a holy beam comes down and just like, oh, healed. So in that sense,
Yeah.
maybe because I was influenced by some anime, I think it's cool. But yeah, level 1's super dangerous, and then adding a 15-foot range is pretty helpful for low level,
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it's helpful. I just don't like it. What about you, VS?
Um, well, I don't remember if in our campaigns if anybody actually used this. So
Hooter has Spare the Dying.
she used
She's
it.
She hasn't
definitely
used it.
Cooter has. She hasn't. I swear she did because a lot of us were dying
She hasn't used
at one
it.
point. Oh, okay.
So I guess, well, I don't think the range bothers me because if the person's down and there's still combat, I mean, they can still receive like attacks, right? The down person. So there's still a danger there, even if they're stabilized.
Yeah.
So, but I get what you're saying about wanting to put more people into the fray if they want to save somebody. I don't think it bothers me either way,
For
though.
the investment of a cantrip is my specific twist on that. Because I believe if they're stable from this, if they get hit, then they go back to dying, I think, and then they make death saving throws again. But like I like Spare the Dying as a cantrip. I just don't think ranged is the way to go, in my opinion.
It seems kind of really useful for a cantrip,
Yeah,
like more so than other cantrips.
yeah. And being on the cleric and druid spell list, and then of course other subclasses we will dip into that too. Like Artificer has access to it, and a couple of others. Paladin might, like certain Paladin subclasses. I'm reaching there, but
I
I
almost
just
feel like,
Mhm.
sorry, for flavor's sake, I almost feel like something like this should be like ritual only, because
Yeah,
you're like, I don't know, it just seems like a very good cantrip.
yeah.
So.
Ritual
It's hard
becomes
for
problematic because then
ritual,
that takes 10 minutes because you have to roll
and they're
death
gonna be
Oh
saves
yeah,
every.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
they're gonna
right.
be dead already or made their saves.
I
And
forgot about the
I
time sync on that. I was just thinking like what player would be RPing it.
yeah, I disagree with Bun, who said it was like Brim was a field medic and it would be pointless. It's not pointless because I mean, if you're talking about Spare the Dying in general, I like having Spare the Dying being touch, and then like you were saying, the medicine stuff is still good. You still have to pass your saving throw and such, or your whatever it is, the ability check for it. I think that's
Kinda
fine because it's so restricted on different on spell lists, but the range thing is just like,
kind of reminds me of an opinion I heard on like healing in general, and like playing a healer in D&D is not that rewarding because it's less about like keeping somebody alive in combat and more just like healing them after they've gone down.
yeah, yeah. And what Village is saying in chat is it's like this becomes a death saving throw whack-a-mole type
Mhm.
situation, which I mean there's alternatives here. Is if your cleric or your druid's going to spend their whole entire action playing death saving throw whack-a-mole, then their effectiveness in combat's going to be severely reduced. But yeah, I don't know, just something about that, about having range to it. I don't know, I just don't like it, especially as at a cantrip level, but that's just me.
All right.
But yeah, then we can go to my favorite if y'all want.
Which one's your 5? Is it I'm gonna go with True Strike.
Yes,
No. It is? Oh.
True Strike is my favorite one from the list now. But yeah, I agree with you, Zeus. Like that's the argument for DMs. Like to be exceptionally brutal is like to penalize the party that plays whack-a-mole, and then which just doesn't feel good. It's like they keep bringing them up, the enemy keeps hitting them down. Like at some point, it feels adversarial, regardless of like what the actual like bad guy would do. But True Strike now is a big glow up in my opinion, and I think is going to be a staple for a lot of like Gish builds. If you're not familiar with what Gish builds are, it's based off of like Githyanki, like Gish, like their warriors, basically like spell sword type people. They do magic and they do melee. But True Strike, Divination Cantrip, Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. All off the bat, which is great. It's an action. Range is self. Components, what is it? Somatic and material, which is a weapon that you have proficiency with. So this is it's such a smart idea. I love this. I'm very excited. It says, guided by a flash of magical insight, you make one attack with the weapon used in the spell's casting. The attack uses your spell casting ability for the attack and damage rolls instead of using strength or dexterity. If the attack deals damage, it can be radiant damage or the weapon's normal damage type, your choice. And it scales. So at level 5, you get a d6 radiant damage. At 11, 2d6. 17, 3d6. The only thing I would change on that is maybe different damage types other than just radiant. But radiant's a great damage type, but just for flavor's sake. But
I'm gonna make muscle wizards, baby.
yeah.
I was gonna say, it seems like this would be more useful on Warlock and Bard.
I mean,
depending on subclasses and whatnot.
Wizard has
Sorcerer,
Blade
Wizard?
Dancer.
Oh yeah, they do.
I had a Sorcerer Rogue for a while as well that this would have been useful on. And I feel like it does, like, it fits that, like, that niche of, like, the spellcaster, like, stuff where you had, like, Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade.
Mm.
But then this, instead, you're like, oh, well, we don't get the extra on that at first, but you can just use your spellcasting modifier. Like a whole Warlock subclass, like the Hexblade was built around being able to use like charisma to swing your weapon around, which is awesome. I like it.
Yep. True Strike, pretty good. Shalalala got a little bit of an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You can now use force damage or weapon damage when you're using your cantrip. And I think the damage scales now.
It does.
For level 5. Well, it starts as the D8, level 5 is D10. D12 at 11, and 2D6 at 17.
The weird thing, in my opinion, like force, I think, is by far the best damage type that you could possibly have, because I think it's the least resisted of anything in D&D for all the monsters, which it's super powerful. But I mean, warlocks have force damage with their Eldritch Blast anyway, so
it's kind of interesting. There on a couple of these, they've done that where it's like you can take radiant or weapon damage or force or weapon damage. I wonder if this is indicative of them maybe changing like resistances at some point for different damage types.
Maybe. I don't think we'll know until they release like Unearthed Arcana about the DMG or monsters and stuff, which they haven't yet, which scares me because they're kind of late. They're in like the 11th hour.
Yeah, they're supposed to release next year, right?
At some point. But I think it's cool. Like, I mean, I love playing like melee spellcasters, so a buff to Shillelagh makes me happy in general.
Yeah.
At True Strike, I'm still happy about it.
Pretty solid to me. Produce Flame also got an upgrade, so it's a bonus action now. And the light is brighter, so you get more light from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a standard action, you can throw it as a magic action and for 60 feet, and you do D8 fire damage and it scales as you level.
Yeah, because it used to be an action. You had to, was it an action to like make it happen, and then you had to use an action to throw it? I think it's a lot more utility this way.
You would just hold it until your next turn.
I like it.
I think they said something about being able to target creature or object with it too. So
that's true,
which is pretty nice. Is this now A better version of Firebolt.
It depends. So the damage is a die
same.
lower, but you also get light from it. So you're losing a little bit of damage to have light, which can be useful.
Oh, you could. Okay.
Yeah, and the range is a little is shorter
Oh, is
as
it? Okay.
well. I think Firebolt's 120 feet, something
Okay,
like that.
so probably still that'll probably still be the main one people go to for like between the two.
Yeah. D10, 120 feet.
Yeah. Never mind.
But you don't get light.
You don't get light.
Yeah, Zeus says you could throw it the same turn you cast it as produce flame. So I'm wondering if I don't think that there are very like I think in current 5th edition there are no bonus action cantrips. So I think this is the first bonus action cantrip if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but I don't think there's one until now.
Yeah.
Solid.
Shillelagh, I believe, is a bonus
Ah,
action.
you're right.
And Magic Stone.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, Shillelagh.
There's only 2.
So I retract my statement. It's not the only one. It's one of the only ones.
All right.
So
Shocking Grasp.
Yeah, we're going backwards on this list.
Lightning springs from your hand to deliver a shock to a creature. You try to touch, make a melee spell attack. On hit, target takes 1d8 lightning, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of the next turn. It scales too.
So this one was nerfed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it, to be honest. So the old Shocking Grasp said that the target couldn't take reactions until the start of his next turn. And now they said they can't take opportunity attacks. And I think they made a little note saying it was always supposed to be opportunity attacks, and then it kind of slipped and just stopped all reactions. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
bit strong for a cantrip if it did that. So.
And it used to do more damage if someone was wearing metal armor, but they've removed that as well.
Aww.
Yeah, if they were wearing metal, you would get advantage. And
you're right.
I think, yeah. So they just
It's
got
a
rid of
fun
that.
interaction though.
Yeah.
There's not many spells that affect someone differently if they're wearing armor other than like heat metal.
Heat metal, yeah, is the only thing I could think
I
of.
thought it was always cool. This was like an edge for casters to get over melee combatants when they're not supposed to be in melee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they removed it, to be honest.
Simplify things, maybe.
I guess.
Yeah, they made a note like this spell no longer makes distinction about whether the target is wearing metal.
Yeah.
Like other lightning spells. So I guess they're just getting rid of the whole thing.
Seems weird. But whatever. What's next?
Poison spray got a change. I think this one got an upgrade.
Yeah.
This is it's 30 feet now instead of 10. And now you have to make an attack roll rather than a saving throw. And the spell's now necromancy instead of conjuration. And it does D12 damage and it scales as you level. So I think that's a big upgrade. Anytime you can roll for an attack instead of saving throw is much better, especially for a cantrip.
Yeah, low Oz. Yeah, especially at lower levels. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean the range increase is nice because 10 feet as a cantrip.
Booty.
Yeah.
Damage isn't bad for a cantrip either.
Yeah, D12s. And it scales.
Yeah, pretty strong. I'm very happy it's a roll attack now instead of just a save.
Yeah, I agree.
What's next? Chill Touch or Friends?
Friends.
I think.
I like what they did with Friends.
Yeah. What did Friends originally do?
While you look that up, I'll read this one. And
Right.
so Friends is an enchantment cantrip for bard, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. It's casting time of an action, 10-foot range. The components are somatic, and the material components some makeup. That might be the same. It's concentration for up to a minute, and you magically emanate a sense of friendship toward one visible creature within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition for the duration. The target succeeds automatically if it isn't a humanoid, if you're fighting it, or if you have cast a spell on it within the past 24 hours. The spell ends early if the target takes damage, or if you make an attack roll, deal damage, or force anyone to make a saving throw. I like this because Friends used to be this dubious, like, not charmed condition, but like a certain thing that it said. I'm glad that they just said, hey, they get this condition in the story. So I like that.
Before, you would just get advantage on charisma checks against one creature of your choice. As a hostile towards you. And then when the spell ends, they know that you did some fuckery with them. But
oh yeah, this one doesn't mention that.
This one doesn't mention that at all. So I'm wondering if they're foregoing that.
I mean, it's not there, so. And then basically, a charmed creature, they can't attack the person who charmed them or target that person with harmful abilities or magical effects. And the charmer has advantage on any ability check to interact socially with the creature. So they still get that advantage to like social interaction, but they also get the added benefit that they can't attack them either.
That's pretty powerful for a cantrip. That's really strong.
It's only a minute though. Concentration up to a minute. Was the old one concentration? I don't remember if it was or not.
Old one's a minute concentration.
Yeah. So I feel like that's something that you do if you need to smooth talk somebody, or if you know you're about to fight them, like get into a fight.
Yeah, or a quick guard distraction. Hey, look over there, and then run past them.
I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, I don't know if it would work that way because charmed is just can't target you or attack you, but then I guess you would use it for your advantage for your social interactions. I like what they've done with Chill Touch. Necromancy cantrip, sorcerer, warlock, wizard, casting time action. I almost said action. Casting time action. Range, touch. Chill Touch is now a touch spell. Hooray!
No longer 120-foot range.
Yeah. It's still not chilly, but it's at least a touch. So you channel the chill of the grave toward one creature you try to touch. Make a melee spell attack against the target. On a hit, they take a d10 necrotic damage and can't regain hit points until the end of your next turn. And it scales per level like cantrips do. They've also removed like the undead specific stuff to this as well. Which I don't remember. I'll look that up real quick.
It was that undead would have disadvantage on attack rolls against you until the next turn.
I don't know why they took that away. That seems fun. Like the lightning,
well, it's weird because if you're gonna chill touch an undead, you're healing it essentially with necrotic damage.
Get your 3rd edition stuff out of here.
Oh, damn it! It is 3rd edition.
I know. It's like that's 3rd edition Pathfinder stuff. Pick your poison. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a necromancy spell and chill touch from the grave, but why would it affect undead? But I like those little extra flavor things, and I hope they don't remove too many of those. But it's fine. I don't remember what the old damage a D10 as well.
D8.
Just D8. Okay, damage. So a little more damage, but you got to be up close and personal. That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the next one.
Blade Ward.
Yes.
It's Abjuration, cantrip, bard, sorcerer, warlock, wizard. It's a reaction now, which is fantastic.
I like it.
You take in response to a visible creature targeting you with a melee attack. I also like that distinction too. But basically, you impose disadvantage on the creature's attack roll against you. I really like that.
Yeah, super good. No longer will you be resistant against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing? Or 1 round?
Yeah, which just effectively does the same thing.
It's just a nice tool to have
Yeah.
for spellcasters that don't require a spell slot.
Well, what's even great is if you took a feat like Magic Initiate to grab like a cantrip, and if you were going for more like a melee aspect, like that'd be great. If you're primarily doing melee, what else are you gonna use your reaction on?
Sure.
You know, depending on your build. So that's a great addition. And then the last one, Acid Splash, Evocation Sorcerer Wizard, 60-foot range. You create an acidic bubble and hurl it at a point within range where it explodes in a 5-foot radius sphere. Each creature must make a dex saving throw or take a d6 acid, and it scales up. So Acid Splash is actually a splash now.
This is I'm calling this the reptile attack for those of you who play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It's essentially what reptile does, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the big change is the spell's an evocation spell now. It's no longer a conjuration. And yeah, it's a 5-foot radius, so you can hit multiple targets, where the OG one can hit 1 or 2 targets, and if it's 2 targets, they have to be 5 feet within each other.
Yeah, I'm glad they did away with that. So what you could optimally hit 8 targets if they were all bunched together with one in the middle. You lob it in the middle. 9, I guess, is optimally one in the middle, and then the 9 around or 8 around it.
Really good for low level. I
Yeah.
mean, if you think about what you're fighting at low levels.
Oh yeah, the D6 to all them.
Yep.
Yeah, for
I don't know, we're
sure.
doing this southern accent thing today.
I don't know why. It's okay.
Yeah, those are the revised cantrips. They're all pretty solid to me. I like them all.
Yeah. I only have that one issue with the but it's a me thing. Spare the Dying.
We can homebrew it if you hate it that much.
Now we just need to see some actual spell revisions.
And they've been doing them. They were just like sprinkled in on all the other different UAs and stuff, but
some really
actually,
strong spells out there.
Spent a lot of time on spells than we thought we would have.
Yeah.
Because Bastions, oh boy.
Yeah. So
there's a whole lot.
Let's talk about Bastions. So Bastions are basically like player home base is the TLDR, right?
Yep.
I don't know if this is gonna make it in the book. I hope it does, but I feel like we were talking about this before the stream was on. This feels a lot more like gamified and crunchy than what Wizards has usually done. So that's what makes me think that, are they going to include this? Are they going to gut it? Like, I don't know.
I hope they don't gut it.
I hope they don't either.
I think it's cool. Yeah, it is definitely super gamey.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like in a separate book.
Put it in the DMG.
So to me, what Bastion sounds like, because if you play games like the Pillars of Eternity series and like Divinity Original Sin 2, you have like this home base, and you can make upgrades to it, and you can have followers and like all these things, and they're just like base activities. They're calling it Bastion events. So that's what it sounds like. Someone at Wizards played a lot of Pillars of Eternity, is what it sounds like to me, with all the cool stuff that they're doing.
And they bought Strongholds and Followers from MCDM. I don't know how similar they are, by the way. I haven't like side by side them, but I will say that Bastions, it says it's up to the DM to decide if they're available in the campaign. So it's not a thing that you can just have regardless. So it's up to the DM. And then it also has an interesting point in here too, where it says that not everyone has to have a Bastion, because having a Bastion is player specific. Now I think you could it mentions putting them all together and making a compound out of them, but there's no interaction between player to player on any of this stuff. It's all their own stuff. But it was weird that it was you can opt in or opt out. It's that sounds okay in practice, but whenever you have to do all this extra Bastion stuff, what about the players who don't have one or don't want one?
Yeah, they just sit there while these events happen.
Yeah, and I
I mean,
mean,
there's that's downtime for their character, but, like,
yeah, and I think like the only time something would happen are events, but otherwise it's just probably a couple rolls. We'll get into that. Um, let me see. Where did they say that? Oh, and it says that they can that if you don't have a bastion, you can still gain some of the benefits of your like your adventurer friends bastions. Um,
yeah. Like, some bastions with if you spend the night for 7
yeah,
days, you get a perk, so even if you don't own one, if you sleep in your friend's, like, sanctuary, then you get the bonus.
yeah, and it says yeah, and multiple characters can combine their bastions to form a single large structure. Interesting. So it's kind of broken down on a couple of things for this. So the first thing it talks about are like bastion turns. And ideally, they say every like 7 adventure, like in game days, you would do a bastion turn. But it also gives the caveat that they expect like 6 to 8 bastion turns per level. So like if the characters are just like flying through, like you have the ability to like slow it down or speed it up depending. Um, but basically, you can just choose when to have the bastion turn, and then stuff happens. Um,
Which I think is cool. There's, like, stuff
yeah,
going on outside your adventure that has to get resolved,
yeah,
which I think is really cool.
and I think like with the bastion turn, like what it allows them to basically like issue orders to their bastion is like is kind of what the turn is, and then based on what happens there are things. Um, but you make your little bastion turn, and it goes into like bastion points. Like certain buildings that are like called special facilities can earn bastion points or BP, depending on that facility. And they have and like players track their own points and stuff like that. Um, but it talks about how to accumulate them. Like there's certain facilities that'll make you like roll for a number of bastion points and stuff like that. Um, they can spend money to gain more bastion points, which I think is fine. And I think a lot of this stuff we talked about it is a way for like characters to like sink their money into something, because I think D&D like sorely needs like things written that players can spend their money on that have actual rules surrounding them and like benefits. But I will say, around bastion points, I don't like the things they chose of what you can spend your bastion points on, except for like maybe one of them's okay to me.
You mean the 100-point one?
And yep, that's one of them I don't like. So the first item it says for being able to spend your bastion points, it says each time a character gains a level, they can spend their bastion points to acquire a single magic item. Hate it. Full stop.
Yeah, more items, baby.
And I like the way that I run my D&D stuff, and it's different for every table. I like magic items to have some sort of scarcity, in that you just can't go to the store and buy one. You need to find one from adventuring. You need to like do a quest, to make one, or you need to kind of like what you did in campaign 1, find like a broker who can connect you with these individuals who have these items and that kind of stuff, and like not just walk into a store and buy it. But and of course, it says that the magic item required is to be approved by the DM, and then they cost per their rarity. So the lowest for a common magic item is like 20, bastion points with no level prereq, and then it goes all the way up to legendary, where you have to be level 17. You can spend 700, bastion points. Hate it.
I think
I hate
I
it.
would. I think if I were to make a change to this, I think instead of just being able to like, oh, I have the points, I want to get an item now. I think if they're going to go with this in depth with like having different facilities, being able to hire
Mhm.
people to work at your facilities, I think you should at least have hired somebody that is like somebody that can source items. Where you can say, I have the bastion points and I would like an item. Well, you got to hire a hireling that can go and find those items, and then it would take X amount of time and maybe
Mhm.
you make a roll to see if they're successful or not. And if it's unsuccessful, you maybe get refunded your bastion points. If it is, then
Mhm.
so there's more to it than just like I have the points. This is what I am looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we mean when like it really gamifies D&D, like with in
Mhm.
this aspect specifically, because you're obtaining points and you can upgrade things and you get hirelings and then there's like defense waves and just like
That's
makes it really
fine. I
yeah.
like that stuff, but this stuff, like, I'm just gonna acquire a magic item. Like, I don't, like, put some work in, like, have epic quests to get epic shit, kind of thing.
I think if it stays as is, it's gonna there's gonna be I think a lot of weight on the DM to figure out how liberal they're gonna be when it comes to awarding bastion points.
Hmm.
It-
Or
You
what
know,
they can spend it on. I'd come up with new stuff.
yeah.
Um, to your point, Zeus, of saying this is why you don't like artificers. I think artificers is fine because with their, I'm assuming you're talking about their infusions. Their infusions are they can only have so many and they're limited, kind of thing, which I'm okay with that. And it's then I think a lot of the stuff on there, like you can't infuse a legendary magic item, as far as I know. The free magic items they just get, yeah, it's their infusions. That's a class feature though. But yeah, I even though they say it must be approved by the DM, it's gonna be people like, I want this. Can I have this? Like that's what it's gonna be, kind of thing. The book says. I agree with you there. But yeah, the other uses. So one of them is you can spend 10 bastion points when you gain a level, and you can ensure the word of their heroic deeds spreads through their region around the bastion. So for the next week, they have advantage on all charisma checks while within 50 miles of their bastion. That's okay. I don't mind that necessarily. That kind of builds up the lore around like your castle, your keep, or your wizard tower, and like how you've been doing stuff to help the world, kind of thing.
And you can spend 100 points, and when your character dies, they return to life at their bastion at the next
India's
dawn.
respawns now.
You
Stupid,
can
man.
respawn once a level.
Hate it. It's so stupid.
Super weird. Super weird. Excellent.
I don't know why that's in there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do they have dread bastions for the murder hobo party? Maybe it's maybe you separate it instead of advantage on all charisma. It's a persuasion versus intimidation type thing. Who knows?
Yeah, be whatever you want. If you're running a tyrannical bastion party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zeus, the Goggles of Night, Bag of Holding, they are infusions that take up slots of their total infusions. So it's part of that. It's not an extra thing. And they're level capped too. But yeah, the only one like the bastion points that I would like entertain is like the charisma one, but there's got to be some better ways to do that because like the respawn thing feels silly, the magic thing feels silly to me too. Not my jam.
And yeah, and again, we were talking about how these are things that can just be gained from having a certain amount of points. I'll do another fix that I would make. Respawn feature, sure. Limit it to a certain level, like maybe something they unlock at level 17, and you have to have like a facility room dedicated to like a god
Mhm.
or some magical
Yeah,
thing. So you're not just outright like buying a life. There has to
yeah.
be preparation involved and a certain amount of levels gained.
I would I would think about the charisma check one, and I would expound on that where maybe you could like spend your bastion points for like influence with like surrounding kingdoms or stuff like that. Or, maybe there's like and this might be too gamified, maybe there's like a reputation system of you can like dump your bastion points into based on like who you're doing work for and like how much they like you or like are willing to, do stuff for you. Or maybe you can dump those bastion points into um like a shop or a store, and maybe you can like get, I don't know, like discounts or get to see like the I don't know, maybe you can invest in it, stuff like that. But you can just do that with gold anyway.
And you can spend gold to get Bastion points.
That's true. So yeah, the spending Bastion points, I don't know. Now the facilities, I like this. So when you get a Bastion, and first off, you don't even get a Bastion until level 5. And they talk about how like make it make sense for your campaign, right? Like it could be starting to be built the whole time. They could inherit it, like whatever. Level 5 is when they can get a full Bastion. But when you get one, it comes with 2 basic facilities and 2 special facilities. So, and it basically says that the amount of space they can have in 5-foot squares is based on like a table, and they can configure the squares however they want on the map. And they can stack them, make it multiple stories, whatever you want. So it talks about the facilities. Like if it's cramped, it's got 4 square area. Roomy is 16 squares. Vast is 36 squares. Is how much you have to work with. It talks about having like encouraging you to make a floor plan of your Bastion, so you know where all the facilities are and stuff like that. But all the basic ones it talks about like bedroom, courtyard, dining room, kitchen, parlor, storage, and like washrooms. I don't think they give you anything specific, if I'm not mistaken. They're just kind of there. But there are some other things, like you can have like, it talks about closets, and it talks about like doors and windows, corridors, ramps, and staircases. And then it has like a section for like defensive walls, and you can add walls around your Bastion. They're 20 feet high, and each 5-foot square takes 10 days to build and costs 250 gold pieces. Jesus Christ.
Gold dump. I don't know you're
Yeah.
gonna have that kind of money at level 5.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you might, but I mean, think about how much wall you're gonna need for your giant, area.
Yeah.
But I think that having walls comes into play from like the events later on.
And then they go into, talking about upgrading your space, like going from cramped to roomy. There's a pretty significant gold cost for each of those upgrades, and they each require more and more time to build.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the cramped to roomy 500 gold? Roomy to, what is it? Roomy, or is that just what is the
You can
roomy is
add
1,000 gold?
you can just add spaces.
Oh, that's
Like
just adding spaces.
which takes like cramped. If you want to add a cramped facility to your Bastion, that's 500 gold, that takes 20 days. Roomy's 1,000 gold, takes 45 days. Vast is 3,000 gold pieces, it takes 125 days. But
Underneath
there's
that was the one.
enlarging basic facilities, which I think is from cramped to roomy is 500 gold, but takes
It's just
25
reduced.
days.
It's the difference of cost, pretty much, is what it does. I will say, Village, that a lot of this stuff, we haven't gotten to the good stuff yet. Like, I don't like the Bastion points. The facilities and like building your own stuff, I'm okay with that. The special facilities is really where stuff gets interesting. I disagreed, Zeus. I don't think that the DM, if it's going to be a player's facility, then I think the players should have control over it. And if it's going to be a shared facility, then the players should want to do that, because it's not like the campaign is going to revolve around this unless they want it to. It's going to be like their thing. So, but the interesting stuff comes in the special facilities, I think. But when we get into that, it mentions like it's like level cap. So level 5, you can only have 2 special facilities. Then at 9, it goes to 4, 13 to 5, 17 to 6. So maximum you can have is 6 special facilities. And then it talks about how they come with hirelings to maintain it for you. And then it talks about like orders. So on a Bastion turn, a character in their Bastion can issue special orders to one or more of their facilities. So you can do all of them or none of them. And then, so there's a couple of them. There's like craft, where you can have someone craft something for you. And certain facilities have certain orders tacked onto them. You can have them empower a facility, do a harvest. You can recruit, research, and trade, where they'll like buy and sell goods. And then maintain is like a Bastion wide thing, where they just kind of like, it's like when you're away, you don't want to do anything. You just maintain the facility, and that's when like the event rolls and stuff happen. And then you can gain like some Bastion points and stuff for it. But there's a shit ton of special facilities though. Yeah, I agree. Like the 5 foot square thing. Like go ahead, moves.
Yeah, there's 9 facilities you could choose from once you hit level 5, and you get to pick 2. So there's like arcane study, there's armory, there's barracks, garden, library, sanctuary, smithy, storehouse, and a workshop. Some of it requires a prerequisite, but like you can't have arcane study if you don't have arcane focus or spellcasting focus.
Yeah, and the ability to use it. And like sanctuary is for able to use a holy symbol or druidic focus. And smithy, you have to have like the fighting style feature or unarmored defense kind of thing. So certain facilities are for certain classes.
There's only certain orders that you can issue based on that type of facility. Like the arcane study, you can order to craft, armory, trade, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah. So you read the level 5 ones. Level 9, there's like gaming hall, greenhouse, laboratory, sacristy, scriptorium, stables, teleportation circle, theater, training area, trophy room. And then level 13 has archive, meditation chamber, menagerie, observatory, pub, reliquary. And level 17 has demiplane, guild hall, sanctum, and war room.
Demiplane, man.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we could read through every single one of these, but it might take a while. Yeah. We could find some ones that we like. I like the archive. I kind of want to read about that.
Go for it.
We can just pick some and just figure out what we want to read before we're completely out of time. But so the archive, it's level 13. It says it's a roomy space, so it gives you like the layout of what that room is. It has a hireling, and you can give it the research order. So basically, your archive has this repository of valuable books and scrolls and maps in it. And it's usually attached to a library behind a locked or like a secret door. And it says your archive contains 1 copy of a rare and valuable reference book chosen from the options in the reference books table. While you and this book are in your Bastion, you gain the book's benefit as noted in the table. And your DM might make other reference books available. And you can also issue the research order so your hireling can help you to look for lore, like helpful lore, and it takes a week to do that. And it says whoever does the work gains knowledge, like they cast legend lore. And then when you come back to your Bastion, then your hireling can share this knowledge for you. So that's really cool. Like if players want to figure something out about the world and like how to move a campaign forward. But the reference books that it gives you examples of are like Big B's Handy Arcana Codex, where it gives you advantage on like Arcana checks when you take the study action to recall lore about spells or magic items or eldritch symbols, magic stuff. Has the Chronipsis Chronicles, where it gives you like history advantage. There's Investigations of the Inquisitive, gives you investigation. There's another one that gives you like nature, another one that gives you religion. So it kind of allows you to use these reference books to like upstart like any of these checks as you're trying to like figure stuff out about the world, which I think is cool because it requires you to invest in it, to go back to your Bastion, to interact with people. And it gives you an incentive of like, I want to go back because I know in my library I have this book and I can get advantage on this stuff. So I like that one. I think it's interesting. And then it says that when you enlarge the archive, you spend a bunch of gold and then you gain 2 additional reference books. So initially you only have 1, I believe. And then after that, you can get 2 more, the super special books. What about y'all?
Some of these, take the armory for example, at level 5. You get a roomy space. It contains mannequins for displaying armor, hooks on the walls for shields and weapons, chests for ammo, all that stuff. You can issue the trade order to your hirelings to stock the armory with weapons, armor, shields, etc. This equipment costs you 100 gold plus extra 100 gold for each bastion defender in your bastion. If your bastion has a smithy, the total cost is half, which is kind of nice. While your armory is stocked, now this is what I was going to say. Some of these facilities have a gameplay element when it comes to bastion events. And this one is one of those where, while your armory is stocked, your bastion defenders are harder to kill with any event. When any event causes you to roll dice to determine if your bastion loses one or more of its defenders, it'll roll a d8 in place of a d6 you would normally roll. When the event is over, the equipment in your armory is expended, regardless of how many bastion defenders you have lost. So, if you're in a campaign and your DM and the player wants to do more of these side events, sounds like you might want to have an armory.
Yeah, because doing that, spending the gold lasts, I think, like for one event if they're attacked.
And
so it's like an investment.
Again, it's straight up a gold sink, which, like you said, D&D needs more of.
Yeah, and so what y'all are saying in chat, it is optional. In the very beginning, it says, "Hey, it's up to your DM if you can do this," and it's optional by player too. But what's one that you like, Boobs? What's one of your favorites you want to read about?
I like the training area, the level 9 Bastion facility. It has a prereq, so you need either an expertise in a skill, fighting style feature, or an armor defense feature. The space is vast. It comes with 4 hirelings, and the order for this one is Empower. And it's a training facility for courtyard, gymnasium, dance hall, whatever. But when you use the Empower feature, uh, any character who trains here for at least an 8 hours on each of those days for the 7-day duration. So, like, if you spend 8 hours a day training here, you get training benefits. So, when they have, I think, 5 or 6 examples here, like battle expert. Once per turn, you can take damage from made with an unarmored attack or weapon, and you can reduce that damage by D4. Or skill expert, you gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice. And these benefits last 7 days. Acrobatics, athletics, performance, sleight of hand, or stealth. Tools expert, you gain proficiency in one musical instrument or tools of your choice for a week. Unarmed combat expert, when you use an unarmed strike to damage a target, that attack deals an extra D4 bludgeoning damage. And then there's weapon expert. Choose a type of simple or martial weapon, such as a spear or longbow. And if you aren't proficient with that weapon, you gain proficiency for it for the next 7 days. And if you're already proficient with that weapon, you get to use its mastery property
cool.
for the next 7 days, which is pretty rad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like
see, the
that one a
beginning
lot.
stuff of Bastions is kind of like, but when you start looking into like the special facilities, it gets much cooler. Like, there's a lot of like downtime related stuff, like temporary bonuses. I mean, and we're not gonna read any more of these because there's just so many. I encourage you all to like go and look through. But like, there's one for like the guild hall, and it has like a whole list of types of like guilds that you can have and like stuff that they can do for you. And like, I don't know, I like it because I feel like it gives players more incentive to do downtime. We were just talking about this because right now there's not a whole lot of incentive to do downtime unless you want to learn like a skill, right? It's just all RP type stuff.
Yeah.
But
we were talking about earlier before we started, Max, you were saying like it's very uncommon for adventurers to just adventure after adventure after quest after quest. Like there's supposed to be downtime in between each mission or job.
Yeah. Agreed. It gives more incentive for players to want to do that. Because right now, like to your point, Zeus, if it's like downtime is like, hey, there's no adventure for X number of weeks, it's just you forcing the players to do it. But this gives players incentive, like, oh, I want to go back to my home base and I want to research this stuff. Like, oh, there's a lore clue in the world. I can go back to my castle and go talk to my librarian and we can figure this shit out, kind of thing, right? It gives them a cool place to go to.
Yeah.
You know, and it could even be inside of like a major city or like or whatever, you know, however they want to do it. Thank you, Dungeon Doomhand, for the follow. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, with all these things, there's a lot of potential to like further sort of role play your character with the amount of flavor that you can add with it. Like I just happened at an eyeball laboratory, and if we had that in our a Bastion in our current campaign, I could see like Cooter
I was thinking the
spending
same
a lot
thing.
of time in the laboratory just because you can craft potions and concoctions and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Well, let's move on before reading through all the facilities because there's a bunch in there. But it talks about like the fall of a bastion. If you just don't issue orders to your bastion for whatever reason, you could just abandon it and everyone will leave. It's in there. But there are the bastion events. So if you're out adventuring and you know they issue a maintain order, which I think they have, if they're not at their bastion, they have to do maintain, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, bastion could definitely be a ship. But for this, if they do the maintain, then they roll on like an events table, which is pretty cool. And basically it's like a 1 through 9, like nothing happens, which makes sense because you don't always want shit going on every time you roll. If they do a 10, it gets attacked. 11 and 12, they lose some of their hirelings. 13 and 14, they gain some visitors, like some refugees. 15, they're friendly visitors. 16, there's a request for aid. 17 is an honored guest. 18 is listed as an extraordinary opportunity. 19 is a criminal hireling.
Yeah, that one basically the cops come to your door and like, hey, this guy's got a criminal record. Either you bribe us or we take him. You know?
Yeah. And then on a 20 there's a magical discovery. So there's a lot of cool things that you could do with that, like especially like the honored guest or like the friendly visitors that want to come, or like the extraordinary opportunity is like you can basically host like a festival or like something like that. Honored guests could be cool, like a noble comes by. I don't like the magical discovery. It's like, here's a magic item.
The honored guest one. You have to roll a d4.
Yeah.
And then a dragon just makes its home in your bastion and it's indifferent unless you do something.
Yeah.
Something wild like that. Like,
yeah.
And you can try to convince the dragon to stay. So no attackers would come because like, oh, we can't mess with this place if they have a dragon, but or some other flying creature. It doesn't have to be a dragon, but I thought that was
yeah,
really awesome.
because you can roll or you can just pick one, I guess the DM can. That's pretty cool. Oh, the magical one. Okay, I like this. So it puts curbs around it. Your hirelings accidentally discover or create an uncommon magic item of your choice. It can't be armor, a shield, or a weapon, and its magic is temporary. So I like that. It only lasts like a week. But yeah, lots of cool stuff in here. I like all of the special facility stuff. I like the events. Having to like nickel and dime like the room sizes and like all that stuff, and like the bastion points. I don't like some of that stuff. I would want to rework that, but and maybe not be so stringent on size, like dollar for dollar. But you know, also it might feel different as you're playing too. So
yeah, I guess and kind of like wrapping up, as it's written right now, Max as a DM, is this something you would want to put in a campaign in the future?
I love the idea of players having a base. And I was talking before the campaign how like I bought the Strongholds and Followers books from MCDM, Matt Colville's company, And just in case they wanted to inherit the place, if you haven't seen campaign 1, that they could have. I like the idea of players doing that, but it's up to them. I would include it. I would tweak some of this stuff for sure based on how I feel about some of it, but I think it'd be fun if they wanted to try it out. I'm more than willing.
Moops, how about as a player? Would you see yourself utilizing this if you had the opportunity in a campaign?
I think in campaign 2 right now, I can see a lot of the facilities working out for us. Like, we could easily squeeze in like a lab, food to mess around and make potions. Like, yeah, I don't think we could have a barracks or an army or a smithy on a ship, but like
Well, I mean,
uh,
like, not necessarily our current campaign, but like
Mhm.
in a future campaign, could you see yourself as a player being willing to dive into like some of the minutia of like the points and the gold costs and the all that stuff?
see the points is a little wonky, but like you can easily make a campaign based around this your bastion and like your home base, and you go out and do things, or intel comes to you because like if you have a pub, you basically have like a network of spies that gather information for you. And
Mhm.
yeah, if you have a campaign where like it's just like a city based campaign and you don't venture out, like you could totally easily do something like this. I'm
Yeah.
down to try it out for sure.
My thoughts are on that too. Or is one, you could have like a plot of land that you slowly build up and make your own town, or like what you said is you base your start in like a city, and you either inherit something, you take it over, you build it, whatnot, and then at level 5 it comes to you. I think that'd be really interesting. Is like, I want, a workshop. You're not, and instead of building a workshop, you basically take over the workshop in the city. So whereas you're building up your bastion, is basically you like robber baroning your way to own the city.
See, for me personally, there's a lot here that I like that I think it would
Hmm.
be fun to interact with, but I also know that as a player, I can tend to be incredibly lazy.
Yeah.
And the idea of keeping track of multiple layers of points and like what day am I on in the building process and like I can be excited. I probably see myself being excited about it the first few times. Like I do my bastion turns, and then it's gonna be like probably just end up forgetting to ask for like a bastion turn or something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that they did good with like if your bastion gets attacked, it's you're not rolling for combat. You roll a bunch of dice,
Yeah,
and if you're how many ones you roll, that's how many defenders you lose, and
Hmm.
then you have to recruit more defenders and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
think that.
can't see how people forget to do bastion turns. It's because that's all calendar keeping for the DM, which Max does a good job about calendar keeping. So probably it's probably a great thing for Max.
Yeah. I keep a calendar. I like I don't know. It seems cool because like you could do a lot of extracurricular stuff just around a bastion, like story wise, and things happening in the world around a campaign that could be easily incorporated. Like, you have like the attack event, but imagine if your players with a home base somewhere in a city or outside of a city, and you piss off the wrong person, and you're there, you actually get attacked, and you could have like a whole sequence of you trying to defend like your castle or whatever, and that kind of stuff, depending on how the DM wanted to do it. So a lot of cool like thought starters and things. And none of this is stuff that couldn't be done without this, but I think it puts a lot of those opportunities like front and center to the players.
Yeah, I think one thing that could work on is like the players working together to the bastion because players can combine their bastions together, but it gets weird where like they can't do things together. They're still independent. Like if
Hmm.
Yeah.
your bastion gets attacked, the second player's defenders can't help the first player's defenders, but
Hmm.
they can sacrifice defenders for the first player. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange like when I'm playing D&D, I'm in the mindset of like we're a group, we're a party,
Yeah.
and the idea that I'm gonna have my individual like thing going on the side is kind of weird, but
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. It would feel weird as a party where Like, let's say that all 5 of you wanted a Bastion, but you wanted to keep them all separate.
Yeah.
I mean, it
So
might be
fair enough,
helpful
yeah.
if you're on different parts of the planet and you could go there for certain things, so that you always had like a home wherever you are. But it just feels weird. Like what you're saying is, if you want to make a big like compound, like there's not a lot of direct benefit to it.
Yeah,
Other
there's
than
no
cool factor.
synergy. It's all independent, which is weird. Because yeah, like Via said, you're a party, you're a group, you do things together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think adding some more rules around that would be interesting, but still having the option to keep them separate.
Yeah.
Because I could see, like, if you were some like fighter who was a knight that you inherited or whatever, that you inherited a little small keep, like you might want to keep that separate, like for story reasons. I don't know, but I think just having the option either way would be fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Bastions and Cantrips in a nutshell. You can go check out the Unearthed Arcana out on the D&D Beyond website there. But I would encourage you all, if at least you're interested, or if you think you won't like it, look through some of those facilities, because there's a shit ton of them, and we wouldn't have time to read through all of them. But take a look through them. I think that's where a lot of the cool factor of this comes into play. But anyway, as always, if you haven't, go check out our YouTube channel. And if you
Share your
have
thoughts with us in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you like it? What changes would you make? All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Let us
And
know.
if you have ideas of things you want us to talk about, I know Village submitted something a little earlier on Discord, but join our Discord. We have a little channel that's called the Tome Knowledge topics. Throw some stuff in there that you want to know about, and we'll talk about it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.